You might think challenges are just harmless fun. But what if I told you that some games are not just dangerous, but deadly? People have joined these trends for fun, for fame, or just to prove something, but ended up paying with their lives. Some of these challenges seem ridiculous, some seem impossible, and some, you won't believe they even exist. But trust me, by the end of this video, you'll think twice before ever attempting a viral trend. Because these games are not meant to be played. Number 10. The Cinnamon Challenge that destroyed lungs. It started as a joke. A spoonful of cinnamon. How hard could it be? But within seconds, participants would start coughing, choking, gasping for air as the dry spice sucked the moisture from their mouths. Sounds funny, right? Until you realize that cinnamon is a fine powder that can clog your lungs permanently. In 2012, a teenager from Michigan tried the challenge and ended up in a coma. The cinnamon didn't just make her choke, it coated her lungs like cement, causing irreversible lung damage. Doctors later revealed that even 1 teaspoon can lead to permanent scarring inside your airways, and in some cases, it causes fatal asphyxiation, where your own lungs betray you, shutting down, refusing to breathe. Just imagine, a simple kitchen spice turning into a death sentence, but this is just the beginning. Because up next, a game that seems harmless, but can literally stop your heart in an instant. Number 9. The Pass Out Challenge that ended in silence. Kids in school thought it was hilarious. Hold your breath, press your chest, and boom, you pass out for a few seconds. Some called it the fainting game. Others called it the choking game. But doctors had another name for it: sudden death. The reason? Oxygen deprivation can cause instant cardiac arrest, brain damage, or even a stroke. In 2021, a 12-year-old girl from Colorado tried it after seeing a TikTok trend. Her parents found her unconscious, but it was too late. The scariest part? She was perfectly healthy before. Doctors explained that even a few seconds of restricted oxygen can trigger a fatal chain reaction in the brain. But what's worse? Some victims wake up, but never the same. Some are left in a vegetative state, unable to talk, walk, or even recognize their loved ones. And yet, despite these horrific cases, this challenge refuses to disappear. But if you think this was bad, the next one involves fire, gasoline, and some of the most disturbing injuries imaginable. Number 8. The Fire Challenge that left people. Screaming fire is dangerous. We all know that. So why did people start lighting themselves on fire for a challenge? The rules were simple. Pour flammable liquid on yourself, set it on fire, and try to put it out before it spreads. But as you might guess, fire doesn't follow rules. In 2014, a 15-year-old boy from Kentucky tried it, but the flames spread faster than he expected. Within seconds, his entire body was engulfed, his skin melting before his eyes. He survived, but doctors said his burns were worse than some war victims. Others weren't so lucky. Some participants were burned alive, unable to stop the fire before it consumed them. The shocking twist? Some victims weren't even the ones playing. In multiple cases, flames spread to furniture, beds, entire houses, trapping family members inside. Just imagine, a challenge that doesn't just kill the player, but their loved ones too. But believe it or not, there's an even darker challenge ahead. One that doesn't just kill you, it makes you take someone else with you. Number 7. The Blue Whale Challenge that manipulated people to death. It started in secret, a mysterious challenge where participants were given daily tasks by an anonymous leader. At first, the tasks were innocent: watch a horror movie, draw a picture. But soon they became twisted. Participants were told to harm themselves, isolate from friends and family, and stay up at 3 a.m. And then, on day 50, the final task was revealed: end your life. You'd think no one would actually follow through, right? Wrong. Across the world, multiple suicides were linked to this challenge. Parents found their children's journals filled with disturbing drawings, cryptic messages, and countdowns to their final day. The most terrifying part: even if they wanted to stop, they couldn't. Some received threats, blackmail, or psychological manipulation that made them believe they had no choice. And just when authorities thought they had shut it down, new versions began popping up online under different names. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was a global death trap. But the next challenge? It happens in broad daylight and has claimed lives in seconds. Number 6. The Skullbreaker Challenge. That lived up to its name. Sounds like a joke. Two friends tell a third person to jump straight up in the air while they secretly kick their legs out from under them. The result? The victim falls backward, head first, slamming their skull into the ground. And if you think a simple fall can't be deadly, think again. A 16-year-old in Brazil tried this challenge at school. The moment his head hit the floor, he never got up again. In another case, a teenager in Spain suffered permanent brain damage after his skull fractured on impact. Doctors say the impact is similar to a car crash, causing internal bleeding, concussions, or even instant death. But what's worse? Some victims survive, but never fully recover. Some lose their ability to walk, talk, or even recognize their families, all because of a so-called harmless prank. But we're not done yet, because the top 5 challenges are even more horrifying. The next one. It involves sleeping pills, hallucinations, and a game that turned into a real-life horror story. Number 5. The Benadryl Challenge. That turned dreams into nightmares. Imagine taking a simple allergy pill, expecting nothing more than drowsiness, but ending up in a full-blown hallucination, trapped in a waking nightmare. That's exactly what happened with the Benadryl Challenge. The idea? Take a massive dose of Benadryl, diphenhydramine, to experience hallucinations. But here's what they didn't tell you. This challenge doesn't just cause weird visions. It can cause seizures, extreme paranoia, heart attacks, and even sudden death. In 2020, a 15-year-old girl from Oklahoma tried it after seeing it on TikTok. Within minutes, her body started convulsing. Her heart rate shot up to 199 beats per minute. Her parents found her unconscious, and by the time paramedics arrived, she was gone. Doctors later explained that overdosing on Benadryl can cause anticholinergic toxicity, a condition where the brain completely shuts down, hallucinations become violent, and the body enters a state of chaos. Some victims have reported seeing shadowy figures chasing them, hearing voices, or feeling like they were stuck in a loop, reliving the same terrifying moment over and over. And the scariest part, even if you survive, the damage can be permanent. Some victims lose their memory, experience psychosis, or suffer brain damage that makes them forget who they are. Just imagine, a challenge that literally erases your mind. But the next one? It doesn't just kill one person. It can wipe out an entire group in seconds. Number 4. The Car Surfing Challenge. That ended in instant death. It sounds like a scene from an action movie. Standing on the roof of a moving car, arms spread, feeling the wind rush past. But here's the thing. Movies use special effects. Real life doesn't. In 2019, a 22-year-old man from Florida attempted the car surfing challenge. He climbed onto the roof of a speeding car, but lost balance within seconds. He hit the pavement at full force, his skull shattering on impact. Emergency responders said he never had a chance. But he wasn't the only one. In another case, 2 teenagers in California tried it together. The driver lost control, the car flipped, and both were ejected. One died instantly, the other suffered permanent spinal injuries. Doctors say even at low speeds, a fall can cause fatal head trauma. But at high speeds, you might as well be jumping out of a moving train. The most shocking part? Despite the horrifying consequences, the challenge still resurfaces online every few years. But the next one? It's even deadlier, because it doesn't involve cars, drugs, or falling. It involves something we use every single day, and never suspect could be a killer. Number 3. The Dry Scooping Challenge. That caused heart attacks. 1 scoop of pre-workout powder, swallowed dry. No water. Simple, right? That's what thousands of fitness influencers claimed when they tried the dry scooping challenge. But what they didn't realize? Pre-workout supplements are loaded with high doses of caffeine, stimulants, and other compounds that can overload the heart. In 2021, a 20-year-old woman from Florida suffered a heart attack minutes after dry scooping. She wasn't unhealthy. She wasn't even overdoing it. But the sudden shock to her cardiovascular system caused her heart to spasm, nearly killing her. Experts later revealed that one scoop of some pre-workouts can contain as much caffeine as 3 to 5 cups of coffee, all at once. Swallowing it dry means the stimulants hit your bloodstream instantly, shocking the nervous system and causing irregular heartbeats. Some victims suffered severe chest pain, tremors, or even temporary paralysis. Others didn't live to tell the tale. But if you think this is as crazy as it gets, wait until you hear about the next one. Because it's not just about hurting yourself, it's about willingly walking into the jaws of death. Number 2, the Tide Pod Challenge. That poisoned people instantly. You've probably heard of this one. But do you know just how deadly it really was? In 2018, a bizarre internet trend began where people, mostly teenagers, started biting into laundry detergent pods. The idea? It looked funny. The reality? It was chemical warfare against their own bodies. Tide Pods contain a mix of highly concentrated detergents, enzymes, and toxic chemicals that are meant to break down grease and stains, not human flesh. When ingested, these chemicals cause violent vomiting, seizures, lung collapse, and in some cases, instant organ failure. One 17-year-old boy ended up in critical condition after a single bite caused his throat to swell shut. Another teenager suffered severe burns in his stomach lining. Doctors said it looked like acid had eaten through his insides. The scariest part? Even touching the liquid inside a Tide Pod can cause chemical burns on the skin. After multiple poisonings and deaths, companies were forced to redesign the packaging, add bitter coatings, and launch massive awareness campaigns. But even today, some people still attempt it as a joke, without realizing they're playing with death itself. And now? We've reached the number 1 most dangerous challenge, the one that has claimed more lives than any other on this list. And trust me, you won't believe how many people fell for it. Number 1, the Russian Roulette Challenge. That ended in tragedy. This isn't just a game. It's the ultimate gamble, with your life on the line. Inspired by movies and urban legends, the Russian Roulette Challenge involves loading a real gun, spinning the chamber, and pulling the trigger, hoping the bullet isn't in the firing position. Sounds insane? That's because it is. But shockingly, multiple people have died attempting this so-called challenge. One of the most infamous cases happened in 2016, when a group of teenagers in Texas decided to live stream the challenge. They laughed, thinking it was a joke, until one of them pulled the trigger, and the room went silent. His friend screamed as he collapsed, blood pooling around him. By the time paramedics arrived, he was already gone. Another chilling case involved a 21-year-old man in Russia who modified his revolver to increase his chances of survival. But instead of 1 bullet, he loaded 2. The gun fired on the first attempt. He never got a second chance. Authorities warn that this isn't just reckless, it's literal suicide. There's no skill, no luck, just death waiting in the chamber. But despite all the warnings, this horrifying game keeps reappearing. And the most terrifying part? There are always new victims. Every challenge on this list started the same way, as a joke, a dare, a trend. But the reality? Each one took real lives. Some victims thought they were invincible. Others thought, it won't happen to me. But in the end, death doesn't care if you believe in it or not. If you ever see a dangerous challenge trending online, don't just ignore it. Speak up. Warn others. Because one moment of stupidity can cost a lifetime of regret.